Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Danny, physician astrologer. I thought we'd do something really fun today. Nothing serious, no overwhelming transformational energies. We're all in the middle of it. I'm kind of tired of hearing about it. I wanted to talk to you about the Grinch. Those of you who don't know who the Grinch is, you need to crawl out from under your rock and read this book, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. There's also a children's movie that was created, or a 30-minute children's cartoon movie that was created in the 1960s. The story came from a Dr. Seuss, this guy right here. And essentially, the story is about this embittered old man up in solitude in the mountains just north of a town called Whoville. And it was Christmas Eve at the start of this story. And the Grinch was just angry because Christmas was coming and he wanted it to stop because the damn Whovilles just sing and they have all this presents and glitter and wrapping and gold, and he didn't like the noise and he didn't like the joy, and none of that was important to him. He wanted to simply stop it. So he came up with this amazing idea to pretend to be Santa Claus. He fashioned a little outfit and a hat and turned his little dog Max into a reindeer and took his sled into town. And while all the Who's were asleep, he grabbed everything. He grabbed all the presents, all the trees, all the food, and then took it up the mountain just before dawn on Christmas morning. And I just want to read to you the end of this book, and then we're going to go into some of the Grinch's astrology, and I'll tell you how I got the date for his birthday, and we'll just see what kind of character this Grinch guy is. So here he is at the top of the mountain after he stole everything. And he goes, "That's a noise that I simply must hear." And so he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound was merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. So this is a transformational story, just like the energy that we're going through cosmically. This angry old man up in a cave in the mountains decided that he was going to steal Christmas because he thought it meant something else. And then when he realized what the Who's were doing down in Whoville, regardless of the presents or the toys or the food, became a lesson about the meaning of Christmas. And when you watch, I rewatched that movie not too long ago, about a month ago, and at the very end, you could hear the music of the Whoville singing, and there was this bright light that came up into the sky, and they were all standing in a circle singing. So I'm going to share my screen. So I thought it'd be really fun to kind of take a look at the Grinch's chart, and I'll tell you how I got his birthday. Dr. Seuss actually created a small 33-line poet in Red Book magazine back in 1955, and it was called The Grinch and the Haboo or something like that. And at the time, his wife was going through some difficult health issues, and he was very, very upset with Christmas and commercialism and it all being about buying toys and presents and things like that. And he recalls a story where the day after Christmas, he was staring at himself in the mirror and he realized he looked Grinchy. So that was the Christmas of 1956, because months later, he began to create this book right here. And then about 10 years later, it became the beloved children's movie. So what kind of astrology creates a person like the Grinch? Well, I just thought we'd go through this little exercise, kind of learn about the Grinch a little bit, and then we'll call it a wrap. Quick little Christmas special for you guys. So what I thought was super interesting was, yeah, well, December 26th, the day after Christmas, that makes Mr. Grinch a Sagittarius sun. So here is his sun. Let me put the draw pen on here. He's a Sagittarius sun. I'm not sure about the houses. I just put 8 a.m. because it seemed like it was morning time, maybe the day after Christmas. Dr. Seuss was looking in the mirror, but it may or may not be accurate. So we won't worry about the houses. We'll just look at the planets and the aspects. So a Sagittarius sun makes Mr. Grinch very motivated, arrogant, educated, conceited, enthusiastic, yet masked by the fear of being unmasked. Okay. His moon is conjunct Neptune in Virgo. That's an interesting combination. So Virgo brings in that need for orderliness, that need for protection, and it's orderliness in solitude in order to connect to spirit. This can make you very critical of others, which makes sense, right? Because the Grinch just had everything to say about the Whovilles, even though he wasn't a part of the community. He didn't like them. People with moon conjunct Virgo or moon Neptune conjunct in Virgo tend to escape because of others and their inability to be perfect. You can't make this stuff up. This is crazy. The Grinch's Mercury is over here in Sagittarius as well. So how does the Grinch think? What is his mind like? So he has very strong ideals. He's very articulate and candid. So also arrogant with a know-it-all attitude and a hypocritical moralist. So it's almost perfect, the birth of the Grinch in the mind of Dr. Seuss the day after Christmas on 1956. Now the Grinch also has a Venus conjunct Saturn in the constellation of Scorpio. It's a morning star Venus, so he loves and hates that he loves. He has a deep desire for simple beauty and the peace of stillness and not permitting oneself anything. His Mars is in Pisces. This means he fights for peace. This is a helplessness and as a weapon that creates chaos and confusion. People with Mars in Pisces can be the eternal victim. In Virgo, we have Jupiter as well. This needs an explainable image of the world that holds up to critical attacks. This can also be the embittered, narrow-minded teacher and a misanthropic know-it-all. You can't make this stuff up. Uranus, because we've already talked about Saturn, Uranus is in Cancer in the 7th house. This is very black sheep energy with a very strange range of emotions. And then Pluto in Leo is a strong desire to be in charge. We have Capricorn in Chiron in Capricorn, which is the wounds of recognition. So why would you pull off this big stunt? This is like, being recognized for the brilliant and articulate and intelligent man that the Grinch thinks he is. His North Node is in Libra. This is his evolutionary destiny. So his journey in this life and in this story is to cultivate a self-confidence and a willingness to adapt instead of selfishly demanding a sacrifice of conformity from other people. So he needs to go beyond the self-centeredness. He has a great fear of becoming lost in close commitments and not being taken into account enough or having to sacrifice personal individuality and acceptance. And with the South Node here, he knows what he wants, he knows what he likes, and he's not willing to change that. So let's talk about some of his aspects because these are really interesting too. Now, we'll talk first about his sun. The sun squares on Jupiter and Mars, but the sun sextiles Moon and Neptune. What this creates, now remember, sextiles are an opportunity of neither polarity. So you can take it to the lighter polarity, or you can take it to the shadow of the polarity. But the sun sextiling Moon and Neptune, this is an opportunity for intense dissatisfaction. And indeed, wouldn't that make sense if he's left his community behind to go and live in the cave, but then still hate on his community? The sun square Jupiter creates an energy of self-righteousness. This is here. Sun square Jupiter. And then Sun also squares Mars, although they don't form a T-square, which is weird. But I think that's because the Sun Mars square is a little bit further apart. But at any rate, this almost looks like a T-square. So you have this, and this, and this. So Sun square Mars, this creates an energy of self-destruction and conflict between the use of energy and the goal. Aggressiveness is directed outside and sometimes directed inward. The Sun also trines on Pluto. So here you have a nice trine to Pluto. This is destined for a transformation of the personality through an encounter of the self with its shadow and its power. So isn't that interesting? That kind of explains the Grinch. Then there's actually 2 other T-squares as well as a Merkabah. Let's look at this. This is crazy. I did not expect the Grinch to have a Merkabah, but let's do the T-squares first. So the Moon and Neptune, T-square, Chiron and Uranus, which are opposing each other. So here's the Moon and Neptune, here's Chiron, and here's Uranus. So here's this black sheep energy over here. I don't belong to the ones I love. And the Chiron energy, which is the wounds of recognition. So doesn't want to be part of the family, but doesn't like to not be recognized. So wounds of recognition. And the Moon Neptune squares on this. So remember, Moon and Neptune is this need for orderliness in solitude and being extremely critical of others, and tends to escape because of others' inability to be perfect. So this is almost like the perfect combination for a grumpy old Grinch up in the mountains. You can't make this stuff up. This is crazy. So let's see. Then Pluto T-squares the nodes right here, just like we just went through the past year with our collective North Node and South Node. And this is a powerful transformation as one realizes their true destiny. So that's what we're all going through right now. So the Grinch is also going through that. But the Moon and Neptune also sextile on Pluto. So this is an opportunity for the misuse of spiritual power. So the Grinch has some stuff to work on. He's definitely got some wounding. But towards the end, he realizes that the Whos are not his enemy, that they actually do love the idea and the energy of Christmas. And it's not about the gifts or the lights or the trees or the trappings or all of the food. So let's look at his Merkabah, because I think that is really, really interesting. Here it is. It is going to be Mercury trining Jupiter and the South Node. So here's Mercury trining on the South Node and Jupiter. So here you've got this Merkabah. So the Grinch is actually a starseed. Isn't that funny? And then here's the other one, Venus and Saturn trines Mars and Uranus. So here, here. Like, it's almost perfect. Look at that. Grinchy Grinch, you are here to teach us a lesson, my friend. So this grand trine right here, which is Jupiter, South Node, and Mercury, can bring a resistance to change and a desire for comfort within the search for meaning. Meaning, the shadow is conceited, exaggerated, and completely uncritical when it comes to one's own thoughts. But at the same time, this Venus trine Uranus trine Mars feels like this wild horse that's locked down by Saturn. And isn't the lesson of Saturn is that we create our own prison, right? We create own prison. So here's his Starseed Merkabah. Venus and Saturn also sextile on his Chiron, which is his lessons or the wounds of recognition. So this is a healing that results in the practical application of understanding. And then Jupiter sextiles the North Node over here. So here's the North Node working on a sextile. So you see there's this energy here. And this is an opportunity for learning how to integrate balance between the forces that pull us from one place to another. So here we go. We did a little forensic astrology on the Grinch, why he might have stolen Christmas, what his astrology means, and the gifts that he can actually share. And indeed, at the end of the story of the Grinch, he joins them. He cuts the roast beast and he brings all the presents and the gifts back, and he even sings with the Who's. So it's just a wonderful story for this time of year. And I wanted to bring you something lighthearted and fun with a little bit of forensic astrology as to why the Grinch might have stolen Christmas. So keep these holy days in your hearts. This is about the rebirth of the sun, the rebirth of our vital force energy, so that we can begin a new solar cycle as the sun moves into Sagittarius in just a few days. So I wanted to leave that with you. Please like this video if you love it. Subscribe if you're a lurker. Check out my site, drdanny.com. If you want to take some courses, check out learn.drdanny.com. I do readings, I have courses. I also have the Fellowship of 13 Signs. I will leave all those links in the description. Have a happy holy days, my friends.